this was so broad, so extensive. How do you even get your arms around doing a project like this? Where do you start?
We start with a massive hole in natural history, which is that it seems extraordinary to us, but there has never been a series made about female leadership in nature. And so there it was, ready and waiting, and it's something we'd all been passionately wanting to do for a long time.
Had you done a lot of filming that you just used the film, or then you go shoot exactly for this?
No, I mean, everything was from scratch because we had this ambition. And then just a crack team of researchers, scientists who came together to figure out what species do we film. We've got a wide array of potential characters, and then you go out, and then we've got the series, the directors of photography who determine how we're going to film, what's the style going to be like. So it's this whole machine that gets going.
It gets going, and Queens is what's unique about Queens is that it's also woman-led. But that is not to say that we couldn't have done it without our incredible male allies. It's very much a cooperative, and it's very important because there's not a huge amount of people who look like Faith and myself involved in natural history, and we wanted to sort of, one of the best things and most important things about this series has been about not only showing the leadership in nature, but also behind the camera and behind the scenes in production.
I was surprised that you had to go to the women in the areas to get to the things that you needed to do, that they were better to talk to than the men.
Not better, absolutely not better. It's just that we have, this is collaborative. This is not anyone's better than anyone else. This is about...
Well, they were more willing to talk.
I guess they were more willing to talk, but also it was the less seen. Mm-hmm. This is about, this series is not only about the amazing animals, and Queens is about the most wonderful stories, but it's also about Faith, Erin, and Faith's story. Actually, your story is the most incredible story.
But the women we worked through in the conservation groups, I think it's just because we've got just women who've stepped up in the different areas of influence and their expertise, and because of that, you also find people like me. I'm a local filmmaker from Kenya, and one of the episodes in Queens was filmed in Kenya. And traditionally, locals aren't involved in the making of premium wildlife content, which is kind of
bonkers.
It's crazy when you think, because Kenya doesn't have a shortage of wildlife films that are shot in Kenya, but you don't have locals who work on these projects. So, because traditionally, it's been the British cinema. Yeah,
it's been one of those things that people didn't think about, and we've been sitting there saying, at this moment in the world, with the climate crisis and with everything, why wouldn't you be using the voices that can tell their own stories? And Faith's story is that she came on as a producer on one of the episodes, and ended up producing and directing the final episode herself, which is just stellar and something that we're all so thrilled about.
The elephant?
No, the Behind the Queens.
Oh,
that's Faith's episode.
But Behind the Queens was my favorite one of all, and I'll tell you why it was. I wish it had been the first one, because I wanted to see the work that went into doing this. I thought that there was, how do you do this? It's very easy to see animals romping around, right? But
it's actually
until
really
you know
hard.
how hard it is to get those pictures, to worry about, are we safe? And I think that is the most telling episode of the whole series.
I agree.
So
thank you.
Props to you. And I loved. Were you involved with the elephant one?
Yes. So just to give you a bit of context, so the elephant one is how I came on board the project, because it was filmed in Kenya, and I came on board as a field director. It was in the heart of the pandemic, where I think for the first time in history, no one could travel outside their country.
We zoomed. We did a lot of zooming.
Because I needed to, my background was in documentary filmmaking, but not premium wildlife. So I had to step up very quickly of a very short
you
period
did.
of time. And the reason there was this gap where I had to step up is because up until I think this project, local filmmakers hadn't been used because it was typically British people that would, because it's funded, a lot of projects are funded by the British public.
There's a huge history. There was an absolute
Yeah.
history of natural history filmmaking that came out of Bristol, but what hadn't really seemed to occur, and it seemed like such an obvious move for Queen's, was that why wouldn't you have the voices from the countries you go to helping tell the stories?
So is this a growth industry now? Are you planning that there will be a lot going on and you'll be in charge of all of it?
We
Oh,
hope
yes,
so. I
please.
mean, maybe not in charge, but in collaboration.
No, she's producing, directing her next project for National Geographic. It's all good.
but it's I think the beauty of the process was showing it's possible, because I think there was this genuine fear if we stop making these films how they've been made, that it's gonna somehow ruin what's happening. But I think with what we've shown is it actually makes the product stronger.
So
it
much
gives it a
better.
different feel, and it just opens up this world of possibilities. Like, yes, you can use locals, yes, you can still use the people who've traditionally made this stuff. We can all work together. And it's been such a joy for me, you know, to be given an opportunity and to thrive, because I've had people like Sophie. Actually, a little story about Sophie, when I first heard that I'd be working with her, and this was like 3 years ago. It was unbelievable, because she's a bit of a, you know, legend in natural history filmmaking. People know her. She's been doing this for a long time. And I was freaking out. I was thinking, there's no way this is real. There are lots of scams in Africa. In Africa. And I thought, well, it's
Globally,
probably,
actually.
yeah, globally. So I thought, they're saying it's going to happen. It's probably not going to happen. And then it happened. So
We met, and there was an amazing moment where we got to meet out in Amboseli, and I, as the series director of photography, as one of them, we'd been talking about style and content, but to actually be out there with the elephants, seeing the elephants, and there was an amazing moment in the film where Faith introduced me to Selenge, the elephant that is blind, and it was only through Faith's knowledge and her powers of observation, but also the fact that she knew the researchers. You had this in for us. It made the project so much stronger to include, and I feel like Queen's is so much stronger for that. I'm so delighted, because
it's so surreal.
It's
like,
worked.
to think how far we've come.
Well,
It's just
thank you so much. It shows the hard work, and I want to see your name on every project.
So do
that comes out
I.
there.
So do I.
Yeah.
You will. Thank you.